Here, and it is election eve, November 6th, 2012. This is when we're live, and the show tonight, maybe you've heard this from me before, it's not just good, it's mind-blowingly good. We've been working on the Crazy Professor reading game for about 9 years. And putting tonight's broadcast together, we came up with an exciting new twist. It adds a whole new dimension to whole brain teaching. So my live online audience, I would love to hear how excited you are already about a whole new twist on the Crazy Professor reading game. The Crazy Professor reading game is a game that we play in place of round-robin reader, where one kid reads and another kid reads. We get way more repetitions, kids get much more deeply into the reading material, and they have a lot of fun. One of the new features of tonight's webisode is that I've constructed it so that you can download it as a PDF, put it in your computer, and it runs the lesson itself while you drink a latte. Are you excited by a whole brain teaching, pre-constructed lesson? Let the PDF do the teaching. Can you dig that? Oh yeah. My online audience is digging it to the max. All right, now, check it out. The first thing I want to point out is, here's Dee Dee Rainbow. You'll see a lot more of her tonight, and her brother. And she's pointing out that everything I'm talking about tonight is based on the Crazy Professor reading game. It's a free download at wholebrainteaching.com. All you have to do is go to free ebooks. Let's just check out exactly what you need to do to get this marvelous reading comprehension program. So first you're going to log in here. Then you're going up here to free ebooks. When you click there, there's pages of free ebooks. Page through it until you find the Crazy Professor reading game. You'll also need tonight's broadcast because there's some exciting new tweaks that we've introduced that have huge new dimensions to this game. Now, I'm going to start by just giving you an introduction to this new kind of broadcast. You can use this specially designed PDF to present a lesson in class. Though there are relatively few slides in this program, you'll see that it constitutes a year-long, almost infinitely various reading comprehension system. The green circles show you how to begin and end sections of the lesson. The C circle in the upper left corner reminds you to say class or class or whatever you want to use as your attention getter. So as we get into it, you're going to see some green circles on the slides. You look at the green circle, you say class or class or classity class. That gets your class's attention to the slide. Give me an ah. Yes, indeed. Now here's another slide. Next, as you think appropriate, guide students once, twice, or several times through the material in the middle of the screen. So, when we get to these special screens, you got the green C that tells you to say class, and then there's a screen. You guide your kids through it, and then you're about ready to do the teach okay. Let's look at the next little informational screen. The T circle in the bottom right corner reminds you to clap once or twice or make any other entertaining transition and say teach. Your kids say okay and rehearse the lesson. Go on to the next screen when you judge they are ready for new material. Occasionally, a scoreboard appears, and you can assign smileys or frownies based on how your students perform. Now think about that. A pre-constructed whole brain teaching lesson containing mini lessons so that you don't talk so long and everything you need to teach is there on the screen. It reminds you to say class, it gives you some material to review, and then it tells you to do the teach okay. So you can say teach, or you can do teach, whatever silly thing you want. Get their attention, teach some stuff, get them to teach each other, pre-constructed for you. Always, please pay attention here, this is an important point. Always keep your latte a little distance from the keyboard so that as you sip it, you don't spill it. Yeah, you see this new pattern? And you can use class leaders. All right, now, one more screen. Then we'll get right into it. White screens like this one are instructions for you and can be omitted from your lessons to your students. Beginning on the next screen, a lesson for your students leads them through level 1 of the Crazy Professor reading game. Encourage your students to use sockless hand puppets as they bring Dee Dee and Jack Rainbow to life, their superhero guides to the Crazy Professor. Now, look here. Here's Dee Dee Rainbow. You'll see she has a special personality. Here's Jack Rainbow. He has a special personality too. They are brothers and sisters, and as siblings everywhere, they're competitive. But they're competitive in a very special way that adds a whole new twist to the Crazy Professor reading game. Oh, yeah. Here we go. So now this starts the PDF slides that you'll be showing to your kids. I'm going to do this 3D mix so that you can see me and the slide. There's Dee Dee Rainbow and Jack Rainbow. Dee Dee and Jack Rainbow are brother and sister superhero mind giants. They're always trying to outdo each other in imagination, originality, and creativity. And if you explain that a couple times, you have your kids teach each other. But here is the big new twist for whole brain teaching the Crazy Professor. We are going to use the Crazy Professor appropriately enough to emphasize, foster, and nourish creativity in our kids, originality in our kids, inventiveness in our kids. It's a component that's very important in education, and we're using that component and highlighting that component in the Crazy Professor reading game, which some teachers are using every day, but this is the new version that really puts a strong emphasis upon originality. And that's what we want from our kids. Yes, my friends. Here's the next screen. So Dee Dee Rainbow says, I challenge you, dear brother, to a game of Crazy Professor. And you'll have to admit that I'm way more original and creative than you. You're on. I'll use my superhero powers of imagination. But first, let's tell our viewers how to play this amazing game that I'm going to win. You see, they're competitive. Who can be the most creative? The Crazy Professor reading game makes reading more fun. And if you play it with wild, creative energy like me, you'll get lots smarter. How creative fun could it be? As much creative fun as you make it. Then let's see who has the wildest, most creative imagination. Now check out what happens next, my friends. Boom! Scoreboard time. See what your teacher gives you. So every once in a while we put a scoreboard in there to remind you to use the scoreboard. What are you scoring on? Are your kids making the full turn? Are they using big gestures as they teach what was on the screen? Are they being energetic? Mighty oh yeah if they are. Mighty groan if they're not. You can take this whole PDF, cut, copy, and paste it into a PowerPoint and put in the scoreboards wherever you want. Right, and many of us need reminders to use the scoreboard. Here's the next screen. The Crazy Professor is played in levels like a video game. You always play with a partner, a two-person video game. Now, when I have the screen slanted like this, are you able to read the text? Tell me that. Can you read the text? Okay, so I can keep the screen slanted. That's what I want to do because I want you to see me too. Maybe level 1 would be a good place to start, says Jack Rainbow. Creative competition, that's what we want in our classes. Now, this is important. Listen to me. The story that I'm going to put on the screen is a marvelous story. I can't find the author for it. It's on the internet in various places. It's called The Best Thing in the World. Nancy Stoltenberg, do you know The Best Thing in the World? I mean the story, Nancy. Because it contains every one of the 300 Dolch sight words. Oh, yeah. Yes, it's a remarkable story. All right, now let's look at the story and what Dee Dee Rainbow has to say. Read the section below to your neighbor. Imagine you're a famous actress or actor. Use a dramatic tone of voice and invent big creative gestures. So the kids read the section. Perhaps you model it for them. Press on. Jack Rainbow says, now do it again. I've marked words in bold that you should read very dramatically. And remember, invent big creative gestures. Don't be shy. Be bold and original like me. Now check it out. So what I did was I went through the story and gave kids words in bold to help them with their dramatic reading. It's an amazing story with all the sight words in it, but reconfigured so it gives hints and cues about how to bring the story to life with their voice. The livelier the story is, the more engaged. The more engaged, the deeper the comprehension. Let's look at the next screen. So now what we're doing is we're just walking through the story. The Mind Giant superheroes are giving directions about using imaginative gestures, bringing the story to life. Each screen has a new little suggestion. Now, here's the question. Jack says, when one player is reading dramatically and using big creative gestures, what should the neighbor be doing? Dee Dee says the neighbor gets to play too. He or she mirrors the reader's creative gestures. Sounds crazy cool if kids can read like me, Wild Jack Rainbow. Here's what it looks like in class. You've got two kids. They're facing each other. Tell me it's cool. I made a mistake. You got two kids. One is reading and making gestures. The other is watching and mirroring those gestures so that both kids are involved in bringing the story to life, in involving their motor cortex, in emphasizing key words. And by emphasizing key words, they learn more about each and every sentence. Oh, yeah. Now, think how much better this is in round-robin reading. Oh, I'm taking off the glasses. Don't you ever subject your kids to round-robin reading. One kid reads, and then another kid reads, and you have a hard time finding a third kid to read because everybody has passed into a coma of boredom. No more round-robin reading. Everybody is reading simultaneously in their own little group. And you say, doesn't that create too much noise? Listen, Go stand in the cafeteria. You can see kids are talking to each other and everybody's talking at the same time. No problem there, my friends. All right. Now, if you're in small groups, if you want one kid to read, everybody else should make gestures. Budsley, it's okay. Now, next point. After one player reads dramatically and uses inventive gestures, the teacher will call switch. Everyone answers switch, then the player switch roles. Just like me and Dee Dee, says Jack. You and your partner are trying to see who can be the most original. All through this game, tremendous opportunities to get kids out of their shell, to get them to be expansive. I almost want to say to be true Americans with that wild American energy, the creativity, the originality. Let's help our kids to lose the mousy voices. Be bold, be confident. Feel the energy and power you've got inside yourself. And reading with your neighbor, an audience of one, is a good place to explore your own dramatic voice and your own silly, wacky, originally creative gestures. And let me tell you this, it works for nonfiction as well. I'll get there in a second. Give me an, oh, goodness gracious. Now, here's Dee Dee again. On the following slides are more pages to practice your originality and creativity. I hate to say it, but my brother's right. Don't be shy, be bold. Switch players when your teacher shouts switch. So here's the pattern. The kids are taking turns, one reading, the other mirroring. You let it go on for 20, 30 seconds, a minute, whatever. You say switch. They go, uh-oh, switch. And the partner reads and the other kid makes the gestures. That's level 1 of the Crazy Professor reading game. There are 8 levels. In other words, there are 8 different ways that we want kids to read. Just like in the rest of whole brain teaching, we practice one skill at a time. So the initial skill is read slowly, bring the words to life, find the key words that need to be emphasized, and demonstrate them visually. That's level 1. 7 more levels coming at you. Here we go. Uh-oh. Time for another scoreboard. Time for another scoreboard. Next screen. If you finish a section before the teacher calls switch, read it again and create new, even more imaginative gestures. Keep rereading until your teacher calls switch. Never put a limit on your own originality. So it can go 2 ways. Kids can look at material on the screen and read it over and over again, and that solves the problem. I've already read it. No, my friend, you've read it once. Now read it again and invent some new gestures. Read it with a different tone of voice. Or just have kids read along, and whenever you say switch, uh-oh, switch, the partner takes over where the child left off, or if you want rereading, you just say, when I say switch, go back up to the beginning and read it again. So you can just move the kids down through the reading assignment, or you can cycle back through, depending upon how you want them to switch. Here's Jack's point. To be really imaginative when you're the reader, use props to bring the story to life. Use a pencil for the brother, or an eraser for a bird, anything your imagination can think up. I'm fantastic at creating props, though Dee Dee will never admit it. Well, goodness gracious. Here, I'm looking around for props right here on my desk. And I've found 2. Here's the old king. Here's the last brother. The old king says, well, now listen to me, I'm not feeling so good. And the last brother says, see, use props as you read. Oh, I've got a prop here and I'm reading and I'm making gestures. If you can juggle 3 balls at once, my friends, that's more creative than juggling 2 balls at once. Challenge them. Next screen. Remember, reread until your teacher calls switch and use your powers of imagination to bring the story to life, just like I would. Dee Dee, Electric Girl, Rainbow. Oh yeah. So these screens are paging the kids through the story short section by short section. Jack has a suggestion. He says, here's Jack's suggestion. Here you've got 2 fingers. Whenever a character moves, walk them around. So you're reading a story and you're walking the character around and your neighbor is walking the character around at the same time. This is a brain toy called a 2-finger action figure. Yes, my friend. Have fun. The deeper the fun, the more passionate the learner, the stronger the engagement. And that's what we want. We weave the golden thread of fun through everything we do. Check out the next screen. Dee Dee says, oh yeah? You can walk the character around on your arm. And you have a 2-finger action figure in Arm World. Now remember what I said at the start. This is a year-long reading system. It's a long year. This system is rich with possibilities that you can introduce month by month by month. Don't lay it all on them at the same time. But you'll see there's even more coming. Because you know what? Something that worked great in September is dead wood by November. So that's why we like to build in lots of variety to our games. And here is one of the very last section, and Dee Dee and Jack join each other saying, give this next section every ounce of creative energy you've got, just like me. Here comes a scoreboard. Now, a note to the teacher. It may take 1 or 2 class periods for your students to get this far. Move forward at whatever pace you think is appropriate. Then, substitute class reading material for the story they've just read. When your kids are ready for a new challenge, use classroom reading material and guide them through additional levels of the Crazy Professor reading game described in the next slides. You can mix and match the levels, emphasizing whatever reading skill you think will be most useful for your class. So yes, we want kids to read dramatically. We want them to do much more as well. So there are 8 levels. We just talked about level 1, which is dramatic reading. Level 1, one kid reads dramatically with gestures, the other kid mirrors the gestures. Level 2, they stop reading and one child makes long creative paraphrases and flamboyant gestures. And the other child mirrors the flamboyant gestures. So we're not reading, we're taking the story and changing it into our own words. Switch every time the teacher says switch, and we've learned an important second skill in reading, paraphrasing. Here's the third one, questioning. One student asks imaginative questions, dramatic tone of voice, lively gestures, and the other student answers with long, creative answers and livelier gestures. Third reading skill. Read dramatically, paraphrase, ask questions about what you read. Switch players when the teacher says switch. Fourth reading skill, connecting. With real intensity and great gestures, one student makes highly original connections between the reading and life experience. This is the background knowledge piece. We don't want kids just to read some stuff and it exists on the island of the page. We want them to make connections between the story and other stuff they know. We know from brain science if you can make connections from A to B, you're more likely to remember A and B. So now you've got 4 kinds of reading, 4 different levels of the game. Always emphasizing creativity, originality, boldness, non-mousiness. Now we also want them to silently skim. So now they're going to take a break and they silently skim. Here's what we suggest for skimming skills. We suggest 4-finger skimming. Skim to the bottom of the page. 2 fingers, skim to the bottom of the page. 3 fingers, skim to the bottom of the page. 4 fingers, skim to the bottom of the page. The teacher hasn't called a new level yet. Go back to 1. Because with 1, 2, 3, and 4 finger skimming, you can tell if they're skimming repeatedly. All right. Next level, silent reading. I'm taking off the glasses again, my friends, but first I'll show you the screen. Silent reading. Silent reading. Glasses coming off. One of the biggest time wasters, potentially, in any elementary classroom and secondary where they use it is silent reading. You've got the kids saying, I want you to silently read now for 20 minutes. A switch in the kid's brain goes on and says, thank you very much. I'll just stare at the page. Have you been there? Have you seen that? But if the kids are making small gestures as they read, and then you say, teach, and they turn to their neighbor and teach their neighbor what they've been reading, it doesn't matter if they're reading 2 different books. Read a little, explain. Read a little, explain. That's the way to do silent reading. And you can walk around the room and see they're doing this. See, yeah. Read slow. See, we have 2 kinds of reading programs. One that emphasize speed. That's super speed 1000, super speed 100, as fast as you can. And the other that emphasize comprehension. Slow it down. Reread. As a college teacher, I'd rather you have the kids read 1 paragraph 5 times than 5 paragraphs 1 time. That's how we get comprehension. Increase the reading reps. Let's go to level 7. Students should silently summarize to themselves with gestures. And now, here is level 8. This is the most wildly creative, original, and imaginative level of all. If you do it like me, says Jack Rainbow. Now, the directions are on screen. I'm just going to explain to you level 8. Level 8. You have to see the video on YouTube. Go to YouTube, type in Crazy Professor. You can see Chris Rexsted's class doing the Crazy Professor. Because at level 8, you've got the Crazy Professor standing up and the eager student sitting down. And the Crazy Professor really wants to teach. The Crazy Professor asks questions. The Crazy Professor uses props. The Crazy Professor says, give me a 10-finger woo. The Crazy Professor says, ask me a good question. Let me tell you about this. And the eager student says, yes, tell me more. Oh, I love it. Let kids go crazy for a minute or 2 portraying the Crazy Professor. They'll do anything to play this game if you'll let them. If you'll let them be crazy a little while. And that's okay. They're kids. Do it before lunch so they can take their craziness outside. All right. Here's Jack. I'm summarizing the screens now, and Jack talks about the eager student, praising the professor's originality, mirroring the gestures, using props, asking questions. Tell me more. Let your creative flame burn even brighter. So lots of on-task, high-energy, glorious reading fun. Then, when the teacher shouts switch, the eager student morphs into the crazy professor morphs into the eager student. And if you take the advice of the slides, your kids should be competing in originality and creativeness and inventiveness. Oh yeah, watch me explain this story. I can be more creative than you. How about this gesture for a bird flying? Oh, here's a person walking along, an old person walking along. Yes, that's what we want. Competition among originality. In fact, if you like, and Sarah Meter, or even Budsley, your kids could be Dee Dee Rainbow or Jack Rainbow. If you had two girls, they'd be Electric Dee Dee and Lightning Dee Dee. If you had two boys, they'd be Wild Jack and Fantastic Jack. Let the creativity contest begin. Isn't that beautiful? You see, it's the creative aspect of this that's brand new in The Crazy Professor. And it's a theme all the way through. Then we'll see who's the creative genius. Now, if you go to the Crazy Professor reading game, you will see this summary, of one-page summary. I'll enlarge the screen here. A one-page summary of all the levels. So if you just print that off and give it to each kid, they'll know exactly what to do. So you can say level 1, level 5, level 4. This is an important technique I use in college. So once they see the idea of the levels, you can just call out the levels and then switch them on a level. So if you said level 4, they'd go to level 4. They'd do the connecting. You'd say switch. Uh-oh, switch. They'd switch on level 4, do some more connecting. Then you could call out level 1, and they'd go level 1. They'd go back up to dramatic reading. So it's like an intellectual hopscotch where they're mixing and matching all of these different reading skills. As I say, a year-long system. Now, what do you do in kindergarten? How can you use this in kindergarten? Actually, not very difficult. Read slowly with gestures and ask students to mirror your gestures. Or ask students to use the same gesture for reoccurring plot elements, like the king or the best thing. Or pause occasionally and ask students to use gestures to retell the story to their neighbor. Or call on students to predict using gestures what's going to happen next. Works great in Read Aloud. The Crazy Professor works almost equally well with nonfiction. Every work of nonfiction contains nouns and verbs, both of which can be illustrated with gestures. The more energetically the material is read, even from an encyclopedia or dictionary, the more words are brought to amazing life. For example, you could even read the following and make it wonderfully engaging. A square is a 4-sided figure. Every corner has 90 degrees. Every side is the same size. You see, it doesn't matter what you're reading. You've got nouns, you've got verbs, you've got adjectives in fiction or nonfiction. Bring them to life. In fact, this game may be more valuable in nonfiction, which desperately needs to be brought to life. Next point, more creativity suggestions. Of course, use the because clapper. Use the example popper. Use the detail adder. When you're speaking and explaining, use our oral writing skills. Use the mind giants. You see, now you see that the Crazy Professor is should be called the infinite crazy professor reading game. Here's the Mind Giants. How do you use Mind Giants? Hi, I'm Biffy Bluebird. Remember, be very, very creative. You can improve in your creativity. You can make big gestures. Okay, Biffy, I will. Smarty Wonderbeak. Listen to me. You could be like a college student. I want you to be a college student. I'm Smarty Wonderbeak. I'll show you how. Use your because clapper. Use your example popper. Use your detail adder. Use your concluder. Be a college student like me. Or I'll show you how. So then, Smarty Wonderbeak uses the because clapper, example popper, detail adder, and concluder. I'm Bobo Robo Dilly. Use me whenever you need to recall something. Something you've learned. Something you've memorized. Bobo Robo Dilly remembers all. I'm Big Dilly. I love to talk to Smarty Wonderbeak. I love to have him teach me. I always say, more, tell me more. Okay, Big Dilly, let me tell you about the story. I'd love it. Tell me, Smarty Wonderbeak. All right, the story starts with an old king. An old king? Yes, a very old king. You see? Here's Dilly Dilly. Dilly Dilly asks who, what, where, when, why, and how. I'm Dilly Dilly. Who's the story about? What happens in the story? Where does it take place? When does the last brother find the bird? Why did you like or not like the story? How does an author come up with a story like this? See, that's Big Dilly. Ask yourself Big Dilly questions. And here's Uncle Louie Trickster Dilly. To really challenge your originality and creativity, use me to ask real tricky questions. So now you see the incredible power of the new Crazy Professor reading game. Works for fiction or nonfiction. 8 levels, 8 different kinds of reading strategies. Everyone's involved. Continuously challenging and sparking kids' creativity and imagination in multiplicity of different ways. Year long, because then you can throw in the 8 Mind Giants to bring it to even more life. 8 times 8, I think, is like 64 variations. That's a year-long program. Kindergarten, and I would use it all the way into college. Although, in college, kids don't mind being silly. In high school, I probably would stop just with Dee Dee and Jack Rainbow. So, huge point coming. Huge point coming. Here's what Dee Dee and Jack say. Use the Super Improvers team to reward improvements in individual or team creativity, boldness, and originality. You see, it all comes back over and over again. We're stressing as one of our newest themes. Reward, recognize, nourish, improvement. That way every kid has the bar set at exactly the right level, at the next best thing they can do. So weave the Super Improver team into the Crazy Professor. And where can you find out about the Super Improver team? Webcast 503 at wholebrainteaching.com. Let's go there right now, my friends. Let's find Webcast 503. Webcast 503 is way down here. I'm going to slide down to Webcast 503. See me sliding down here? There's 503 right there. Super Improvers team. Now, my friends, huge surprise coming up. Not going to tell you yet. Here's Ms. Linenthal. Gosh, a Crazy Professor reading game. Whoops. Coach, I think you gave away a secret. It's really you. The Crazy Professor reading game sounds great, but how could I get professional development credit for this broadcast and a copy of these slides? Very easy, Ms. Linenthal. Donate $5.44 in PayPal, because this is program 544, and I'll send you a copy of all these slides in a PDF format that you can use right away in class. Yes, you can use tonight's broadcast in class. Right here is the PayPal window. Remember I said big surprise coming up. Here are the professional development certificates. And remember, we want you to pursue whole brain teaching certification. You want to learn more about this. You want to advance from a WBT novice all the way up to a board certified international presenter. Please explore our PDF right here. Explore this PDF, and you'll see how someday you could add to your resume that you're a board certified whole brain teaching instructor, no charge, 24/7. Now, to get points for tonight's broadcast, as soon as it's over, I'm going to put a topic on the forum: certification, Crazy Professor reading game. You summarize what you read. Nancy or I or some others will give you some points falling out of the sky. Now, the question is, what are we doing for next week? Amazing. Something that's never talked about, the art of whiteboarding. Learn the fundamental explain anything diagrams that every teacher should have been taught in their credential program but weren't. How do you use a whiteboard? My friends, there are so many different things you can do on the whiteboard besides write on it. There are fundamental diagrams that when you understand the diagram, it's like popping into a new visual universe. Let me show you. This is something I have some skill at because I whiteboarded for 40 stinking years. Let me show you my secrets next week of whiteboarding. All right. Now, here we go. The big point. This is what I've been talking about, the surprise. Surprise. Huge point coming, bigger than huge. My friends, before I go any further, who's ready for a big surprise? Let me hear it online. I'm taking a drink at California Clear. Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. Yes. I see it. Oh, I see the energy. Glasses off. Yes. All right. Molly O. Yes. Here's the big surprise, my friends. I don't know. Are you sitting down? Are you surrounded by pillows? Please don't have your steel-toed boots on, because this is going to blow your socks off. And that steel-toed boot's going to go flying across the room and break Grandma's china. Yes. Here it is. Oh, man. I'm not responsible if you hurt yourself. Here's the news. New series coming. New series. A new WBT series coming. Oh, what's it going to be on? What should it be on? Let me tell you. WBT Common Core. Oh, yeah, baby. Tell me about that. I can't even talk. I'm hiccuping. I'm so excited. Common Core WBT. Yes. And check it out. Electronic lessons like you saw tonight. Pop the PDF in your computer and let Coach B do the teaching for you. Ho, 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 ho. Coming in the new year, our first program, WBT Common Core, the noun. Explore WBT's highly colorful, zingy and zany lesson for this all-important Common Core topic. Just pop the PDF in your computer and let Coach B do the teaching. Would you like to meet a digital version of Coach B? A digital cartoon version of Coach B. I'm just going to wait till the excitement subsides out there in Wibitania. Say hello to the first portrait ever of Coach B, who's going to teach your classes for you. Yes! Let me, Coach B, do the teaching while you hit the computer button and drink a latte. Dig it? You want me to teach your classes for you? I'll do it. How's it going to work? Easy. Class, what are your kids going to say when Coach B says class? You're right, they're going to say yes. And then Coach says, too slow, mighty grown. You mark the frowny. Can you dig that? Then Coach B says, class. Your kids say yes. Coach B says, good job, mighty, oh yeah. You see, you got Coach B with you there in the classroom. Tell your neighbor how much fun it will be to have Coach B give you a college-level lesson. Teach. You see that? I'm teaching college level to your kids. Yes, Brainiac, are you digging that? Here's how it's going to go. Today our question is, what is a noun? With a full turn and big gestures, tell your neighbor today's question over and over. What is a noun? Teach. Tell me, are you eager for the new year to start with the electronic lessons, each week focused on a Common Core topic and everything you need, including the QT questions, including the graphic that you can put on the wall, including all the bits and pieces to guide them through critical thinking and develop writing skills, week after week after week. Pour down those lattes, my friends. All right, I'm excited too. As you can tell, I'm a little excited by this new idea. There's Coach B. And we got more drawings of Coach B coming up. You want more info about any of this? Go to wholebrainteaching.com. You want me to give an on-site seminar? Email me at chrisbiffle@wholebrainteaching.com. And you knew it was coming, my friends. Here we are. Let's see if you can see the iPhone app. Ooh, go this way. You see that? On your iPhone. Boom. Boom. Boom, 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 boom. iPhone. Down here, 3 buttons. Be sure you explore all 3 of the buttons. Download that. Go to the Apple App Store and just type in Whole Brain Teaching. And of course, for those of you who have an iPad like Coach B, it also works on the iPad. Yes, it does. If you fellow teachers are interested in whole brain teaching, show them this thing. Yeah. It only works on iPhone and iPad. It'll work on your smartboard because there's a way to connect iPhone or iPad up to the smartboard. Go to the Apple App Store, type in Whole Brain Teaching, or let's just go to our Facebook page. There's a link on the Facebook page. I'll take you to the link. We're excited about this. It's right here. See this link? About 2 articles down from the top. You click on that. Boom. It takes you to the Apple page. View it in iTunes. View it in iTunes, and you can download it. All right, my friends. That's it for tonight. Next week, how to use a whiteboard. Week after that, how to make handouts. How to make college-level handouts for kindergartners or second graders. Those are 2 things I spent decades on. I got some simple, creative ideas to help you transform that whiteboard into a whole brain teaching whiteboard. Ho, 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 ho. All right. Thank you for your prayers. We had some positive days, but we are still deeply in need of your prayers. We appreciate it so much. If you could include my family in your prayers, that would mean so much to me. Let's finish up the way we always do. Just let the places pour down the screen. Where are you from? Where are you listening from? Let's see the big picture of whole brain teaching. Jackson, Mississippi. Jackson, Florida. Maine, Thailand, Bakersfield, Phoenix, Wilson, Canada, Wilson, Kansas, Illinois. All right, my friends, until next week, if you want the PDF, if you'll drop $5.44 into the PayPal, I'll send it to you tonight. If I get your request tonight, I'll send it to you tonight. All right. Coach B signing off. As we say always, power to the teachers.